So hello and welcome to this video on the Korum YouTube page. We're out today using the new range of floats that are coming out shortly to Korum, and we're fishing the stick float for silvers. We've had one or two bites already from some chub and dace and small perch, and just by feeding a little bit of bait into the swim, some hemp, some maggots, and we've just started introducing some ground bait. It's attracted the first better quality fish of the day, a nice little skimmer. During this video we're going to take a look at the new floats that are coming to Korum, some basics of stick float fishing and the baits that we're going to use. So let's get this Bream back and see if we can get some more. So at the start of the video we did say we'd share as many tips as possible, and one of the most common questions that I get in my fishing about stick floats is plumbing up the swim. What you want is a nice heavy plummet, one that's not going to move, and I only plumb up 2 places on the swim, so we're fishing quite close in today. So the first place that I plumb up is where I'm going to start casting in, and you can see there we're just about dead depth, and the only other place that I'll cast is where I'm going to end up down the swim, and you can see just a slightly bit deeper. That is the only 2 places on the swim that I will cast in. I'm not interested really in the depth of the swim, I'm more interested in the contours. Is it going deep to shallow, shallow to deep, or in an ideal world an even depth all the way along? But in them 2 different places you'll learn that contour of the swim, and that's exactly how I plumb up at the top and where I'm going to end up. The bit in between I'll work out along the way. So just feeding those balls of ground bait, keeping on that line close in. We've been catching a few small fish like you've seen, and we had that skimmer at the very start, and then we've just hooked into something a lot better. You see the river here does go down deep off the shelf, so yeah, we're connected with a better fish. And when you do start hitting them better fish, you can see the veins coming down. You just got to take your time and make sure you get them out, because there's nothing worse than losing one. Well, this is why I love the Korum glide rod. It's got the finesse for those small fish, but when you hook into something a bit better, it's got that power in the backbone to control the fight. And I say, just taking our time. The most important thing is we get him in. The rain coming down. So there we go, another one of those lovely bream, just coming over that ground bait. And what we're going to look at now is how we fed the swim, the ground bait we're using, and the shotting pattern to get that bait down where these fish are feeding, and hopefully get 1 or 2 more. Right, so like we just said then, we're going to talk a bit about the ground bait that we're using today. The mix that we're using is the Super Feeder Dark from Sonia Baits, and in there we've mixed in some Black River ground bait as well. The reason why I picked them two ground baits is they're quite a bulky mix, a heavy mix that's going to get down to the bottom in the swim, and it's going to keep them bream feeding on the bottom of the river. What I've done at the start, and will continue to do during the session, is mix up balls of ground bait like that, and as you can see on screen, lots of sweet corn in it. I've put micro pellets in it as well, and some hemp seed as well. These big balls of ground bait are going to go straight down to the bottom of the river where the bream are feeding, and ensure that we're going over the top of that with the rig. What we're going to take a look at now is the shotting pattern we're going with to ensure that our bait is down on the bottom where this bait is. So we'll take a look at that now. Right, so the rod that we're using today is the Korum Glide in 12 to 14 foot. By far my favourite rod that Korum make. This rod I've had nets of dace on the river, roach, and recently went out on the river on my channel and was catching barbel. It is my favourite rod that Korum do by far. Today we're using the 12 to 14 foot version, and we're fishing it at 14 foot. We've teamed that up with a Korum switch reel, and on there we've just got some 4-pound line. So that's down to the float that we're using today, and we're using the 0.6 gram. As you can see, these floats are brand new to Korum in the Fineliner range. They've got a carbon stem and a shoulder on them and a nice fine tip. We're using the 0.6 gram today, but they do come in 0.8 gram, 1.6 gram and 2 gram. Obviously for the different swims that you're going to target, you'll use the heavier weights. But for today, we're just going down that inside line on the river. We're fishing about 5 foot deep, 6 foot deep, so the 0.6 gram is perfect. But as you can see there, nice solid carbon stem. And what I like about the shoulder today, when we're fishing for them bream, we can just edge that bait through the swim nice and slowly, because them bream obviously have a slow feeding fish that's on the bottom, and that stem and the shoulder will just let us edge that bait through. And then we've got the sensitivity for them smaller fish as well. So yeah, the 0.6 gram float is the one that we're using today. So shotting pattern is something that I get a lot of questions on in fishing, and there are two main versions that you can do. You can either bulk the shot together, or you can fish it shirt button style up the rig like that. So if you think your float was there, and spread it out. Today we're fishing with the shotting pattern, nice and bulked, because we want to get through them smaller fish that are in the upper layers straight down to the bottom. Remember, we're feeding them big balls of ground bait, so the fish that we want to target, the bream and the quality fish, they're on the bottom of the river, and that shotting pattern is going to go straight down and keep that bait in them bottom layers where them bream will be. So yeah, that's why I've gone with the bulk shot today and not the strung out shot. If we're fishing for those silvers, like we've been catching the small fish and they were the target, we'd bulk it out, because then when we hold back, that bait will flutter more in the water and you'll catch the smaller fish. But for the bigger fish, nice bulk, straight down to the bottom for those bream. So how do you choose the right float for the swim you're going to fish? It's all about being in control of the river. By that I mean that your float is heavy enough that the river isn't taking it where it wants to take it. It's going down in control of the river. Now, a good way of spotting whether your float is controlling the river and the river's not controlling you is the angle. If your float's pointing down at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, generally you are in control of the river. If it's up by 9 and 10 when you're holding back, then your bait's up here somewhere. So a good indicator of whether your float is heavy enough for the swim is the angle that it goes through at. Ideally, you want it at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock or 8 o'clock, and then you are in control of the river. So yeah, nice little tip there for picking the right float. So in that last piece there, you've seen us talk about the bait, the float and the shotting patterns. When you get it right and you put it all together, the next trot down we've hooked into another one of these Bream, and yeah, just having that shotting pattern all booked together is keeping them maggots on the bottom of the river. If we become shallow, we'll catch them small fish again, but we're here today to catch these Bream, and they're definitely responding to that ground bait. Keeping on putting it in, 2 or 3 balls every 10-15 minutes. And you can see here we've got another one of them skimmers. So we're coming towards the end of the session now, and only a short one in the morning. You can see the sun's on the water now, and we've just hooked into another one of these hard fighting Bream. I say they're not like the ones that you get on the still waters. They really do fight on the river, and yeah, hopefully we can get this guy in, and then we'll have a look at that final net and see how we've done. As you can see, a long way from their lakeside counterparts. A lovely Bream to end the session. Let's get him out, take a look, and have a look at that final net. And there we go, what a lovely Bream to end the session with. We had plenty of bites today, and hopefully those hints and tips have helped you along the way. As you can see on screen now, the final net, plenty of bites and great fun on this short morning session. If you have enjoyed the video, please leave it a like and subscribe to the channel for more videos. And we'll see you all in the next video. Let's get it straight back.